G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome to my first impressions review for the reboot of the arcade series Gauntlet.
I got blown off.
Oh, I'm dying.
Oh god.
No.
Oh god.
Going down real bad.
Just like us. Oh, explode.
Here it comes. Here
So, a sacrifice has been made.
Gauntlet is one of the classic arcade co-op games. It's a game that a lot of people either played in arcades on arcade machines or on various consoles. There was quite a few installments in the series, and everyone kind of has their favorite that they remember playing with their friends growing up. And this game had a lot to live up to in that regard. And with this reboot, they were trying to capture the magic of this sort of like 4-player co-op madness that these original games had. And I think they've done a pretty damn good job.
Go green dude, hold him off, man.
That's OP.
Oh no!
No.
Oh man.
We've got one here.
Oh shit!
Don't set them all off.
Oh my god. The fireballs, it's like they were homing.
Whoever it was.
It's like the fireballs were homing.
Here we go.
Oh, still topped it. Here comes the crown bonus though.
There it comes.
Nah.
Oh, barely over here. Holy moly.
Beat the crown bonus.
So I woke up about 3 AM this morning for the launch of Gauntlet. Oh man. And I grouped up with Willy Wonka, Green Dude, and Moors because I wanted to get that full 4-player co-op experience, because I think that's where Gauntlet really shines. It's definitely playable solo or with a friend or with 2 friends, but I think in 4-player, where you've got that full party and you get to experience all of the different tactics and strategies that come along with that, I think that's where Gauntlet really shines. And we had an absolutely great time with it. Now there were a series of bugs that we did encounter.
Wow, nice bug, bro. Look at this.
What? Wow, that's shortcut.
How did you do that?
Hopefully they get patched very soon, because a lot of these bugs were progression breaking. We had a few disconnects, which means you have to go back basically 2 or 3 levels. If someone gets disconnected, there's no drop-in feature, unfortunately. And there is also a couple of progression bugs we encountered where keys wouldn't work on doorways and relics wouldn't go in relic slots and things like that. So that was a bit unfortunate, because we were having like a huge amount of fun with this game. But when we got stuck on the same level for about 2 hours because we kept repeatedly running into a couple of bugs, we did get a bit frustrated with it. So hopefully that is something that get patched, and be aware that if you are very easily frustrated by bugs, that there are a few lurking in the game at the moment. So the first thing I want to talk about is combat. This game is about combat. It's 99% combat. Gauntlet is not a loot-based action RPG, it's a combat action RPG. It's about getting in and smashing mobs and trying to progress and trying to get the highest score you can and trying to steal gold and crowns and other cool things off your party members. You know, trying to cause a little bit of havoc in your party as well. Now the combat I felt was very solid. Everything plays very smoothly. The only thing that didn't quite feel super smooth was the Ranger has a dodge roll ability that has a bit of a delay in it. It feels a little bit iffy. I don't know, maybe that's something that can be improved, or maybe it's a balancing thing for the Ranger. But overall, there are 4 classes in Gauntlet, and each of them play fairly differently and have their different niche roles in the game. So the first 2 are the Valkyrie and the Barbarian, or the Warrior. I'm probably just making these names up, but anyway, there's the big beefy dude and then the shield-wearing maiden. And they fulfill different roles in combat. One's DPS, one's very meaty in terms of their HP, and the other has a very powerful shield and is a bit more lithe and agile in combat. And when it comes to party-based combat, they fulfill fairly different roles, and they play, although Melee can be pretty similar, they play fairly differently, it looked. The third character is the Ranger, or the bow character, and he plays like you'd expect. He's able to dodge roll around, he's able to kite, run around while shooting lots of arrows, he's allowed to take sniper shots, and he's allowed to drop bombs as well to help deal with enemies. Then the fourth character was the one I played for the 9 hours this morning, and I had so much fun with it. It was the Wizard Merlin. Now, Merlin, whereas the other classes have a couple of different abilities. They have like a fast attack, they have a heavy attack, they have maybe a powerful or secondary attack, they maybe have a dodge mobility skill. They each have their different sets of skills. Merlin has 9 different spell possibilities that he can do based on actual different button combinations that you have to press. So you actually cast the spells with Merlin. So if you press Y twice, you'll have fireballs, and then you can aim the fireballs and shoot them, sort of almost auto attack with them. But if you want to cast like a glacial cascade to freeze enemies, you might press X and then Y, and then maybe you want to switch into chain lightning, so you'll press B and then X, and then maybe you'll want to switch to fireballs, so you'll press Y and then B. And there's 9 different combinations of this, and each of the different spells are extremely useful in different ways and in different situations, and some of them have different length cooldowns as well, so you rotate between them. You have some powerful ones on long cooldowns, you have to use them at the perfect time and then switch to other skills, and it's a difficult class to learn, but the variety in the gameplay for it and all of the different tools it has at its disposal and the actual physical act of casting these spells and then using them is extremely fun and satisfying. So I had an absolute blast with this character. I think the Wizard is definitely the highlight for me, although all the other classes seem quite fun. In terms of class balance, we played in a 4-man group primarily, and each of the different classes, although some felt weak in certain instances and others felt strong in certain instances, overall they felt reasonably balanced. The Wizard tends to stand out the most because he's the most flashy and has so many tools at his disposal, and sometimes he can be the MVP. But each of them have different roles that they fulfill, and overall I felt the balance was fairly satisfying, you know, based on how difficult the classes were to pick up, and I think there is a decently high skill cap on each of the different classes, so a good player with each of the classes will be able to excel. It's a bit early to tell if any of them get really OP at higher skill levels, for example, but for the 9 hours that we play, it felt reasonably balanced and people had fun switching between different classes and trying them out. In terms of single player, it looks like all of the different classes will play quite well in single player. The Wizard has so many tools at his disposal that he's going to have a fine time with it. The Barbarian, although he's not very agile, has a lot of meatiness about him and he does a lot of damage, and he has a pretty good AoE attack, so he seems pretty solid. The Ranger is very mobile and has a very nice AoE bomb and is able to kite while moving, and the Valkyrie has nice ability to defend and also attack enemies as well. So it seems like each of them are viable for solo, and the game overall seems viable solo. There's also some difficulty scaling that occurs based on whether you're playing solo or in a party, it seems like, in terms of the number of mobs that spawn. So it seems like you can play this game solo, though it definitely shines when you're in a party. The final thing I want to mention about combat is the boss fights. We only played one of the boss fights. There's one at the end of each chapter, and there are 3 chapters in the game. It takes quite a while to work your way to a boss fight. But once we were getting the sense that we were approaching a boss fight, and we got a little glimpse in one of the stages of the boss as we were leading up to him, we started getting very excited. But I also got a little bit worried, because I was worried that with all of this work, the boss fight would be a bit of a letdown. But no way, this fight was so much fun. I don't want to give you guys any spoilers, but I thought it was very well designed, it was very difficult, and it took quite a few times, and quite a bit of strategic discussion, and lots of talking and communication in the actual fight to be able to pull off the kill. And there was some very clutch moments in there as well, so it was extremely satisfying, the boss fight. One of our party members had the comment at the end that this was deserving of being a World of Warcraft raid, and it did feel like that. It did feel like a raid boss. So the next thing I want to go over briefly was progression. This is not a loot-based action RPG, and a lot of you guys play Path of Exile and Diablo, where you kill monsters and find loot. In this game, you do get some power-ups while you're in the actual mission, mostly life and the ability to cast your relic spells, but for the most part, it's not so much about finding loot as it is about player skill and progressing through the missions and just, you know, having fun with the actual combat. Now there is some player progression carryover. I think this is definitely very popular in modern games, and it's something I've seen in like the roguelite genre, for example, like Rogue Legacy. You're always making progress towards something even when you have a terrible run. So in this game it's the same thing. You have 2 forms of progress. First is finding gold. Gold can be used to purchase either cosmetic armor for your character just to make them look a little bit different, or it can be used to purchase relics that have unique abilities for your character. You can have 2 relics at once, and each of them have different abilities, and the relics can be further upgraded to enhance those abilities. So you get a bit of customization, and you get to kind of either fill in some gaps in your character or provide some support for your character through these relics. So that works out pretty well. The other form of progression was the mastery system, and this basically, by doing anything, you make progress in the mastery system. If you jump in and get absolutely slaughtered, but you manage to kill some monsters with one of your abilities, and you manage to kill some barrels, break some barrels, then you're going to get progression towards some of your masteries. And those masteries will give secondary effects to some of your skills. They'll increase the damage of some of your skills or reduce their cooldown, or they'll give you speed boosts or damage boosts or some other form of boost. Some of them minor, some of them a little bit more powerful, but overall characters feel viable without any of the masteries, but they certainly start to feel a bit stronger prettier and a bit more kind of interesting. Now, the Gauntlet series was always a very bright and over-the-top sort of series. That was common of arcade games back in the day, and I think some people will be disappointed that this game doesn't capture that. It does look a bit washed out, so it's not quite as striking as the other games were. The sound design is also not particularly striking. I think it's effective and solid. The music in the game was not annoying, but it also wasn't very catching. It's not the sort of thing that I'm really going to download and play in the background of while I'm playing another game, for example. However, the aesthetics in terms of visual clutter and visual clarity were very effective, I thought. Only a couple times over the course of 9 hours did I actually lose my characters, so very infrequently. It wasn't something that was happening all the time, which can happen, for example, even in Path of Exile, where the middle of the screen, your character is locked in the middle of the screen. But even in this, where you can run around the screen, I wasn't ever really losing my character, so that means things are clear. It's clear what's happening in combat, unless you're losing control and things are getting out of hand, but for the most part, things are clear in combat, and you never really lose track of what's going on. So the visuals are effective, and that I think is very important, because you don't want the visuals, even if they look great, to hinder the gameplay in a game like this. It's all about the gameplay. Now, as a final addendum, I just want to give a little bit of a word towards controller support, or what controllers to play with this game. I played the entirety of the 9 hours with the Xbox 360 controller, and obviously it does have gamepad support built in. This is the sort of the game where I know that I myself will enjoy it a lot more when played with a controller, but I did have one of my party members play on mouse and keyboard the entire time, and another one of my party members try out mouse and keyboard, and they both said it worked pretty well. They actually said that with the Ranger, the mouse and keyboard was in some areas superior because the aiming with the mouse was a lot easier or a lot more precise. The downside of it was actually the directional, like running with 4 directions instead of having the precise direction control of an analog, was a bit more difficult. I've also heard, reading around on Reddit and things, that playing the wizard on a mouse and keyboard is pretty difficult because of doing the combos. You heard me mention doing the combos with the gamepad is much more intuitive and it feels much smoother. So you can definitely play it with mouse and keyboard. I think you'll be able to do that, but I think most people will probably enjoy it more on a gamepad. Now, since this is a first impressions review, I'm not going to give you guys like a final rating or anything, but I did have a lot of fun with my first 9 hours. It seems like the game that I'll come back to quite a bit over the coming days, and something that I'll probably play every now and then, like, you know, pick up once or twice a week with a few subscribers or a few friends, or even just solo and have a bit of a bash for 20 minutes to an hour. So it does seem like good fun. If I have to make one suggestion, it's that if you have 3 other friends or a couple other friends that would potentially be interested, you can actually get a 4-pack instead of the single pack on Steam, which is $60-ish for the 4-pack, I believe, and it's usually $20 per copy. So $20 per copy it seems like decent value, but if you're going to play it by yourself, I don't think you're going to get the full value out of it. But if you do have a couple friends to play with, you can split it each way, and then because it's also minus $20 as well, that's pretty damn good value, I think. Anyway, hopefully you found this first impressions review helpful and it helped you figure out whether this is the game for you. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.